Welcome to Soul of Travel podcast. This is a really exciting conversation to bring to you today. I'm so delighted to have Shay Sane joining me. And we had this interview scheduled a while back, but it's really kind of serendipitous that it landed here today. We're at the beginning of Mental Health Month, and we are going to be talking about kind of the intersection of mental health, healing, travel, transformational travel. So this is perfectly aligned timing. I'm excited to jump in. So welcome to the podcast, Shay.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Well, just to get going, I'd love to give you the opportunity to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your business, Black Girls on the Go, and then we'll go through your journey to creating it and all that you're offering there.
Okay, well, again, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here and have an uncandid conversation with you about Black Girls on the Go. My name is Shay Sane. I founded Black Girl on the Go in 2014 through just some self-discovery. I started out by traveling solo initially, but then I invited other Black women to travel with me to offer them a place to heal from some of the things that they may be going through, much like myself, being a Black woman in a very diverse community, or just being in the workforce, being professionals and having the everyday stress of just taking care of yourself and taking care of other people. For me as a brand, my focus is providing support to strong Black women and empowering them to prioritize their mental health. Myself, I have been on my own mental health journey for over 40 years. And I am thriving and living with high functioning depression, high function anxiety. I also have fibromyalgia. I also live with invisible disabilities. And I also have epilepsy, but I have not allowed that to stop me. It actually motivates me to do more and to share my story. And to be excited about what I do with Black Girls on the Go. Although our focus is to empower strong Black women to prioritize their mental health, we do it through various ways. We facilitate workshops, seminars, events, and travel. Initially, when we started out in 2014, we focused primarily on travel.
Yeah, thank you for sharing all of that. And I love that you kind of ended that you started in travel, because I think where we connected was through the Transformational Travel Council and kind of beginning to understand that this kind of secret power that lay within travel. And I think then as you saw that value, that revealed to you this entire other aspect of what your business could be and how you could support community. But I would love to talk to you a little bit more about your journey to creating your business and how you were drawn into travel, and then what was that catalyst for you that really had you step in to create this community and this space.
For me, it actually, I have to be very candid, transparent. It started because of personally. I was a single mother. I had my first child at 16. And my life itself started out very traumatic. I was abandoned by my mother. Later on, I was abandoned by my mother at 8 years old. I was then raised by my older sisters, and they took care of me. We lived below poverty, so it was a big struggle for us. And my sisters, they did the best that they could. And they loved me and nurtured me, and they had always been my backbone. Later, when I got older, my father, who was a recovering alcoholic, he did come and he retrieved me and my sister, who's 1 year older than me, and we went to live with him, and our life got a little bit better, but I still had a lot of trauma. And I had a lot of trust issues, and I started going to see a psychiatrist back then. And there goes trauma in my life, and I didn't have a lot of trust. So my childhood or teenage years was very difficult. I became very promiscuous after I was molested, and at 15, I got pregnant. I had a daughter at 16. And one of the things I did not want for my daughter is to abandon her. So that was a no-go for me. So yeah, pulled up my bootstraps and I was like, okay, I'm still going to graduate from high school. I was very adamant about that. I did the things that I needed to do in order to keep myself going, motivated, education. I was able to get into a job training program, thanks to the DC government. And I landed a job with the federal government. So I started federal government in 1990. And I worked my way through the federal government, always looked ahead, got mentors that motivated me. And I started my federal career. As a Black woman in the workforce, it was not easy. It was very stressful. And then again, like I said, I had children. I'm in the Washington, DC area. And of course, because I had past childhood trauma, I was dealing with some mental health issues. At the time, I didn't know what it was, but I knew that I struggled with being sad and being depressed. And because I had the previous history of going to the psychiatrist, I would then seek out therapy when I needed. And so that helped me a lot. And then I created a community of women that was like myself, single mothers, and we would come together and talk about the things that we were going through. We would help one another out on the weekend. We'd do babysitting duties on the weekend. So that helped us to get through the things that we were going through, the challenges, whether it was childcare, financial issues, relationship issues. And for me, we started to travel on the weekends together. Like we go to New York just for a weekend or go to Miami. And then for me, I wanted to do something a little bit more because the job was stressful. So I started traveling. And I wanted them to travel with me, but they couldn't go. And I started traveling solo. And so when I started traveling solo and I started venturing out to other countries where I didn't speak the language, and I would be in Paris and I was like, I don't know where I'm going, don't speak the language, but I survived. And I was able to tap into a power that I didn't know I had. And I was like, okay, if I can survive in Paris and not speak the language, I can survive in this building with all of these, other powerful people, and I can get the job done. And so it just gave me so much strength. And I felt so elated that I was like, okay, I need to gather up all the women and we need to just go travel. So when they come back, they can feel strong and they can get it done. And so that's what happened. I started, bringing people out to travel. And originally the name of Black Girls on the Go was Black Girl Travel Movement. And so the mission at the time was empowering women to heal through travel. I didn't make the connection with mental health at the time, even though I knew it was for mental health. I wasn't at a place where I could say the word out loud, right? But that's what we did. So when I started traveling and bringing other women, and we would have our conversations and getting to know one another, the amazing women, they started sharing stories about their life, about past trauma, domestic violence, molestation, and things like that. And I'm like, I'm not equipped to deal with that. And I realized, okay, I need to get people out here that can help these women. So I invited holistic healers, life coaches, therapists, those that could help the women to come travel with us so that they could have support in the event that they opened up about those things. Did you have any questions? I don't want to keep talking on.
No, it's so, I just
I could go on and on forever. So that's kind of how Black Girls on the Go was kind of born and kind of got started.
Yeah, thank you so much for walking us through that. And also, I really thank you for sharing, really what was the catalyst for your business. And I think so many of us that create community for women, especially around healing and around transformation and growth, I think that it is coming from the space we need for ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So I just want to honor and recognize that, that is a really important part of our journeys. I, in fact, just was meeting with a healer the other day, and she said, well, I just hope that you recognize this experience that you're having right now is going to even help you to further guide and support women, because you can relate to them because of this experience you're having. And I think how you were able to recognize that you were already creating community around this, and then you had this powerful travel experience and knew that this would be beneficial for other women. I love how you just kind of kept pulling the threads together, and then the awareness of how much of a part mental health takes in this experience. And I think many of us working in transformational travel, if we're kind of really focused on that healing, there are moments, especially I think when you're gathering women and they start to share and open up and be vulnerable about their past experiences, you do recognize that they are starting to process a lot of things, and they do need support beyond what we can as like a space holder and a community holder provide. And so I did want to talk about, this transition from thinking about it as being transformational and empowering, and really then diving into mental health. What did it take for you to kind of bridge that gap in your community? Especially, I know you and I talked about before we hopped on this call, the struggle and the stigma that is attached to mental health, especially in Black communities. How did you get the women who are traveling with you to really feel comfortable knowing that that's the intention for their travel experience?
Um, I guess it's twofold. It's for me personally, because I was introduced to mental health very early, like at 13. Like I said, I was going to see a psychiatrist. I was going once a month at 13. And so it was introduced to me early. And I've always, read self-help books, and I've always been in therapy. Like, I am a big proponent of therapy. I love having a therapist, and I've always gone to therapy, and I know that it works. And so, knowing that it works, I wanted to share that with other people. But the biggest catalyst, I think, for me to start really talking about it and like changing my mission and not hiding behind the words. Like, as I said, the mission before was empowering women to heal through travel, was COVID. It's like the pandemic made it easier for me to really talk about it and to change the mission of the brand, to talk about mental health, because we could not hide it. Everybody in the entire world was traumatized by the pandemic, and they were affected, and it was coming out more. And I was already positioned, my brain was already positioned to be where they needed to be. And even though travel was shut down for 2 years, I didn't make any money in my brand. I was already positioned to be ready when COVID opened, when the pandemic ended and travel opened back up. My brand was already to step in and to do the work that was needed, because more people needed healing, more people needed support dealing with mental health issues that they probably didn't even know that they had. I knew prior to COVID that I had high functioning depression. It's my opinion and belief that there are a lot of people that did not know that they had high functioning depression because they were always busy. The office kept them busy, the gym kept them busy, the kids kept them busy, socializing kept them busy. But when the world shut down and you didn't have any of that, it was hard. And so it made it easier. And for me, because I was already talking about my own mental health journey, it made it easier for people to seek me out and be like, okay, Shay had already been talking about this. Let me see what Shay's talking about. So it made it a little bit easier for me to just start talking about it and having conversations with people. I mean, it was my time to step up and to really step into the purpose of why I was made. And the higher power revealed it to me. It's like, all the stuff you went through, all the trauma you've had in your life, and all the struggles, this is my time to show you, this is why I made you.
Gosh, thank you again. I feel like my it just keeps kind of hitting me at a level that I wouldn't have expected, but I think it's because you are so beautifully sharing really powerful awarenesses. And the one thing that at first struck me is that, you were saying initially you were kind of hiding what you wanted to do behind this other facade. And we were just talking about how you're going through a web redesign and a brand repositioning and kind of getting ready to really bring this new business to life. But I think so many of us, when we have something that's so personal to us that we do want to offer as our business, we kind of can start playing it safe or playing it to the level of comfort that we're at right now. And I think also when you're looking at businesses that overlap kind of healing, health, and wellness, there's things that you're told as a business owner that like you should say and shouldn't say when it comes to marketing and branding and strategy. And so they're like, this would sound better. And so I think some of us start that way too. And then we just realize like that's not in alignment with who I really am. And at some point, that mission just like busts through all of these things that people are telling you your business, how it should be shaped. But I would love to talk to you about that. Like, what has that transition been like for you, and kind of what is coming?
Wow. Thank you for mentioning that. When I started, it was hard because there was nothing like what I wanted, as you're kind of alluded to. So it's almost like I'm creating a niche. Before I jumped into travel, I became a travel agent because I wanted to understand how to book group travel. And I remember being in some of the training courses, you got to pick a niche, you got to do this, you got to do that, but there's no niche for this. Like transformational travel was just starting. I remember seeing the Transformational Travel Council, that they were just up and running. And this is like I said, 2014. So it wasn't as big as it is now. Like now, I think maybe around 2018 is when I really started to see people use transformational travel, but there was nobody really doing transformational travel. But now after COVID, it seems to be bigger and a popular word. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
it's like you're creating a trend. And for me, being that I'm a Black entrepreneur, I'm in a travel space, and of course I made the name of the group Black Girl Travel Movement. I kind of lumped myself into that community, but in reality, I wasn't a part of the Black travel community. Not that I wasn't, but the type of travel I was doing was not just for social travel. It wasn't about taking glamorous pictures for Instagram or social media. It was about mental health and healing. So I never became a part of that community or that clique or
Mhm.
any of that. Like there have been many articles written about amazing Black travel groups, but you don't see Black Girls on the Go on that list. And it's okay because I knew that I have a unique niche. So it's like I always am the oddball at school. And it was okay because I love those people. I've had conversations with a lot of those amazing people that are just spearheading that. But it's lonely when you're creating something of your own or something that's unique. But I believed in who I am and I know what I do is needed. And the time just shined. So when COVID came about, it just, like I said, it just made it easier. And if you could repeat your question, I'll get back to the answer, but I kind of got off track with that.
No, I think that I love what you said there. And what I wanted to just say too, in that is when you were saying that your business didn't really seem to fit, in the travel space, in the Black travel space, in this space. And you're, again, as an entrepreneur, you're actually, one of the first things you do is kind of try to figure out where you fit and then figure out who your competitors are. So you can, do all of these things that you're supposed to do with your business plan. And when I started to write my business plan for my company, for Lotus Sojourns, I remember thinking, like, I really want to travel. I've been in the travel industry for a long time, but what's more important to me is community and connection and personal growth. but like, I don't think people will understand if I say that I'm creating a community for personal growth and transformation that happens while we travel. And even at that time, I was like, I think it's something like transformational travel. And my business coach was like, well, that is surely not a thing. And so she's like, just call it a travel company and then tell people all the other things you do. And I went back and forth because I was like, yes, we are traveling, but that's just like the vehicle for
Mhm.
all of these other things to happen. So I really relate to kind of that dilemma of creating what you want to create, because like all the pieces are important, but the thing that people seem to most easily latch onto is the travel business part. And then all of a sudden you're a travel business that really doesn't look like a travel business. So I wish that we would have met each other like 4 years ago, because we could have really probably held some space for each other to be like, you are not crazy. This is okay. We're going to get through this. And then also, like you said, during COVID, so many people were more present to their mental state, to what was happening in their lives, and also present to the absence of travel. So I think then people were seeing how healing travel actually is for them. And so now, like you said, transformational travel is a thing that people actually are seeking out, and you don't have to kind of sneak in to the, your offerings. So this is such a perfect time for you to just be like, this is what I'm doing. I really want to be here. This is what I'm here for. So I'm just so excited for this transition for you. And you said that you are kind of reframing things. So that's where we started. But what's next for Black Girls on the Go? Where are you headed?
Um, the sky is the limit for us, and it's very scary. And of course, it brings me back to that quote that if your dreams don't scare you, they're not big enough. Mine scare me so much that I have to pull back. Um, and so our full website will be launching within the next week or so. Um, we we actually will be rolling out our entire travel itinerary and events for the rest of 23 and for the full year 24. We have some amazing things coming up. We will be having our luxurious self-care wellness weekend in Tampa, Florida in October, I believe it's October 3rd through the 9th. If it's not, I know it's Columbus Day weekend. It's going to be amazing. It's geared towards strong Black women coming together or taking the much needed weekend so that they can remove their cape and focus on their own mental health. And we'll be using our Black Women's Mental Health Manifesto to help them create a plan so that they can live in wellness, exuberance, and happiness. We are looking to partner with other businesses, companies that support Black women living in mental wellness and to focus on their mental health, because it's so important, it's so much needed, and we can't do it by ourselves. We have a lot of great things coming up. The world's the limit. And I wanted to say something about, I love talking about the transformational travel experience. And one of the other things when I'm building the brand, when we're building the brand, you're talking to experts, like you're talking to marketing people, you're talking to branding people, and you're talking to, news media, and they're trying to understand what you do. And they try to lump you in with retreats. And I'm like, I don't do retreats. And people think, well, why you don't say retreats? It's like, 'cause it's not retreats. And so that was another thing. I don't know if you had that too, where
Mhm.
people want to say do retreats. So I was like, no, not a retreat. And I still don't use the word retreats. And this was in 2018. And one of the things that I did do is, because I knew where I was going, I created a word, and it's called Travsperience. It's two T's. I don't know if you've seen it. Two
Mhm.
T RA capital V experience, and it stands for Transformational Travel Experience. And I actually trademarked the word in 2018. Didn't really think much of it, but I knew where I was going. And I knew where I was going. I knew that what I was doing was something unique.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And I have that on my list to ask you about Travsperience. And because I love a good word mashup, especially a la Glennon Doyle, who creates so many words. I tell them to my daughters all the time. I'm like, oh, I'm so scarce-sighted right now, or I'm, like all of these words. So when I saw Travsperience, I was like, oh, that's so good. I love that idea because you're bringing people into that conversation to get them to understand what you're doing. And also, as you were talking about retreat, this was a word I definitely was trying to steer clear of. I would say sometimes like it's kind of like a retreat, except for that we're not staying in one place and we're
Exactly.
not really like, it's not about just relaxing. I'm like, it's actually less about retreating and more about engaging. I'm like,
Mhm.
going on to engage. People are like, I don't think that's what I'm here for. But I really get that resistance because like you really know what the essence of what you are
4 years ago.
creating. Yeah. I see you and I in the same place. And now at least I know I'm not there alone because it's like people will be like, this is what it's called. And I was like, perfect. I'm going to stand out right outside of whatever that is and then think of something different, which is fun, but it's also just always harder, right? Because you could say, I could just call this a retreat, and then people would easily know, like they would just be able to say yes. But I'm like, but you're not really saying yes to what I want you to say yes to. That would be me misleading you. So I hope that other people listening to this who maybe have felt similar resistances when they have been creating their businesses, to give them permission to just be like, I don't have to be inside that box. I can definitely be way outside of that box.
Yeah. Yeah, you definitely can. And I really, I'm excited about the Transformational Travel Council and what they're doing. Uh, I was so excited to see them. I said, at least there's somebody here leading that charge. And eventually it's going to get there. And boom, here we are in 2023, and they're there and they're on it. And I just absolutely love it. I love
Yeah.
it. And even being in the travel space, because I still have a travel agency, and I see even in the wellness space, they're moving on with that. And I love being in the middle of wellness and travel, and to be able to offer the mental health and to see the two married together.
Mhm.
And that's my platform. Is to marry the two. And I love that I'm in the middle of mental health and travel, and to make it wellness. And so what I say about my brand is Black Girls on the Go is a unique wellness brand, because I'm not all the way travel, I'm not all the way wellness, but I'm in the middle.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Well, one other thing that you mentioned a moment ago, and we also were talking about before you hopped on, one of your other aha moments in redefining your brand is that you were really speaking to strong Black women. And I would love to ask you what that realization was and why that's so important and how you think that differentiates who you're talking to and why those are the women that need you.
Um, for myself, I am a self-proclaimed strong Black woman. I know this. And I will say this for myself, it may resonate with other people. When I say things that I'm making, I'm using adjectives, I'm talking about myself. It may describe other people that are listening. But for me, I'm very independent, very assertive, always have been. I've taken care of myself for years, not because I want to, but because I had to. And it takes a lot for me to trust other people, because I've tried to trust other people and they failed me. And so as a strong Black woman, I have certain expectations, or I just do things differently. And in my community, or in my circle of friends, I'm the strong Black woman. And right, during the pandemic, I ended a relationship, or my relationship ended with my life partner, and I had a mental health crisis. And I have amazing friends, and they supported me. And being the strong person in the group, they were not prepared. Not that they were not prepared, but because I'm the one that's doing all the research and making the decisions, they were not prepared to support me the way that I would have supported myself. No, taking nothing away from them, but as just being strong or independent woman, whether you're Black, white, or whatever, we're just different. It's just different. I can't explain it, but those of us that are, we're just different. And so I know that we need to be supported and cared for in a different way. And other women that are like us can support us in that way. And so for me, Black Girls on the Go is about strong Black women supporting strong Black women, creating a community where strong Black women can be vulnerable and know that there are other strong Black women that know who you are, know what you need, and will support you and care for you authentically and not judge you. And when you're ready to get up, we got you. And I think about it because I have amazing sister friends, and they allowed me to cry and be a mess. And as I'm coming through this, I'm thinking about other strong women like myself who don't have that community, because I have some girlfriends, and I still have one day, but I needed her. I have that strong one be like, put your big girl panties on. What are you doing? All right, I gave you a month to cry, get up. But my fear is like for the strong Black women out there that only have those women around them and they can't be weak. My heart goes out to them, but they need to be able to take their cape off and just be vulnerable around other women. And that's what Black Girls on the Go is all about. Especially when we get to be in community, especially when we get to travel, especially when we travel in luxury and we get to go to Greece and be on an amazing cruise, or we get to, be in Italy. And of course, the way I plan travel for the community is just amazing. It's just amazing. It's like I've even changed the way I do our travel experiences, especially if we're doing a therapeutic travel experience. One of the things I believe in is not sharing rooms. That's just me. It's like when you're going through a healing experience, you need your own space. And so the last group that we had traveled in Bali last year, they all had their own rooms. Mother and daughter had their own rooms. And, the reviews we got back, they loved it. Mm-hmm. But that's what we do. It's just something different. And so because I am my ideal client, I build travel, I build events around that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And as you were talking, too, there's so much that I could relate to in both the kind of being the woman who everyone goes to when they have the challenges, right? So you're always the one that's tackling all of that, and having that moment when you all of a sudden realize you need the support. And like you said, maybe people don't know how to address that because you've been the one that's always been the person there taking care of it. But then also, if you do have a community of women that are also strong, and if you're looking even in a business sense, if your peers are other CEOs or executives, leaderships, senior leaders, this facade, or not facade, but this space you built for yourself of being strong and being independent and being in control, it's really hard to take that back off. And you need to be able to take that back off to grow and to heal and to become stronger. And so the importance for creating a space where you can feel safe taking that off, whether it's personally or professionally, in order to become the next stronger version of yourself, I think is such an important thing to think about. And it's really great that that is a part of the the space that you have intentionally created. And also the simplicity of giving everyone their own room. Like that seems like such a seemingly simple thing to do. But I think as women, so many times we would just say, oh, it's no bother, I can share, or it'll be great to share with my girlfriend. But I think most of the time, I know a few people now as I'm gotten older that they'll say, oh, yes, I will have my own room. But most people, most women, it seems like that's a part of this accommodating or this being with friends. I don't know why, but saying you would want your own room is a hard thing to do for many women. And to just be gifted that experience, even if I were traveling with my daughters, of course, I would say, oh, we'll share. That's what we should do. But then to have your own space, go through this experience together, but by yourself, I think that also makes it even more powerful.
Yeah, because when you're healing, you need your own space to do whatever you need to do, and not even if you're healing, but just like when you're traveling, it's like you just want your own space, and everybody has their own thing that they do. Some people are up late, some people are up early, some people are like me, that they are very disruptive in their sleep. I'm up all times of night doing all types of things. Um, and so it's good to have your own space to do that in. And so I'm all for, why we have these cultures of doing this and doing that, I propose we normalize the culture of not sharing rooms.
Mhm.
Let's do that. We'll make that happen. Make
We'll
that a
put
thing.
that on our list.
Make that a thing.
Well, we talked about this a little bit, but I wanted to go back to this. One of the other things that you've really done throughout creating your experiences is bringing in mental health professionals to help support the community and travelers as they are really processing and healing from trauma and going through these deeper experiences. How have you seen that support and really amplify the healing effect for the people that have participated in that sort of a program?
At first, there, at first there was resistance. I felt that there was resistance, and I was concerned about that. Especially with me talking about mental health, and not being a mental health professional. But then the more I started talking about it, and me getting involved with a lot of mental health organizations, like I do volunteer work with NAMI, and I'm actually an ambassador for the Disability Invisible Disabilities Association. And so combine that with my own personal lived experience, which is over 40 years, I have it, and I've had conversations with a lot of licensed mental health professionals, and they told me, it's like, Shay, you got it. You don't have to worry about it. Those people that support you will be for you. And then, of course, when COVID happened, it made it a lot easier to build those relationships with therapists. And so now I started reaching out to therapists that I see on social media that's giving information already, to the community, and they've been very welcoming. And I'm working with some of them to partner with them. One of the goals that I have is to create a list of therapists, to have a therapist at least in every state, so that when I have clients that travel with me, I can at least have a resource for them when they go back home, and they can contact someone to either, if they have additional crisis or they need to have a therapist, so that they can connect with that person. Because of licensing issues, it's like it has to be that person. So I want to build at least, I'm building that one resource to have at least a licensed therapist in each state to connect my clients with. So instantly they have some, but there are already also some resources out there that I also will be using. And we'll have on our website resources for therapists. Some of the resources that some of the other communities create, like I know there's therapy for Black Girls has a list. And I think also, what's her name? Megan Thee Stallion has the list that she created. I think her website is Bad Bitches Do Bad Things or something like that, where you need therapy. So she has a list, and there's a lot of other mental health organizations that already have resources. They we share that on our website. And surprising enough, I've been getting contacted by other organizations to be on our resource list. And I'm learning things every day, and especially as it relates to addiction, drug addiction, alcohol addiction. And then recently I was contacted by a law firm that is focusing on social media addiction. And they sent me their resource and their stats, and it was amazing. And I never thought about it. So the community is like welcoming, whether it's therapists or, like the drug treatment centers. And it's just the whole mental health community has been amazing.
Yeah.
It's
I
getting
think
better.
yeah, that's really exciting to hear that you're kind of seeing that evolution happen organically, and that kind of the need, everything's just dropping into place as it seems like you need to grow in that direction. Well, one of the last things that I wanted to talk to you about before we go our separate ways, is your podcast. So I know this is also a part of coming with the 2.0 or 4.0. I don't know which version of your business, but the new relaunch, your Travel Heals podcast. I would love to hear from you about what that experience has been like before so far, who you've been talking to, and who you're looking forward to talking to in the future.
Um, I started out by talking with some of my clients, those that are transparent about their experience. I think that is important because it opens others that are struggling with their own past trauma. It helps them whether they want to be in an open forum or not, but it just helps them to break their own silence. And for me, what I've learned thus far about trauma, for myself, and again, it may not be for everybody, but for me and my trauma and dealing with depression is it's the silence that makes me sick. If I've had a traumatic event and I don't release it and I keep it bottled up, that's what makes me sick. So I need to get it out, either verbally or writing it or some type of way. So the past trauma I went through during COVID with my breakup, I wrote about it. I have a book. I thought I was going to publish it in April. The title of it is My Strong Friend's Mental Health Crisis. But I got some other stuff, and so I put it down on the shelf. But it is going to come out, because it's very important, because it has some things in it just for, because I want people to pick it up, because it's like your strong best friend has had a crisis, and this is some stuff you need to know. And so I do strongly believe that you have to get it out. So I like to talk to people that have had their own, trauma, so that they can share their story to inspire other people to share their story in whatever form you share it in. I also like to, I'll be talking to some of the mental health professionals that are now on with me as partners. And of course, some of the holistic professionals, because it doesn't always have to be a mental health professional or a licensed mental health professional. Also, some of those that are in the clergy, my mentor is all of those things. And she's helped me out tremendously. She's helped me out with my brand in the transition from doing travel to being in the mental health space, and just so many other things. She's amazing. She's a champion for women, women's empowerment, and she's been doing this all of her life. Her family, her heritage is just that. She's helped me. I can call her up today saying I'm struggling with this, and that, and she'll be like, well, Shay, what about this? What is that? And so the people that are in I'm old, the Rolodex, I bring them on because they give me life, and I want to share that with other people. I also want to share, have conversations with, those that are my partners, people like yourself that I get to talk to, and we get to share information and resources, especially as, we're building our brands and our businesses. Additionally, we kind of talked about the rebranding of Black Girls on the Go. And I talk about being in the wellness space. And as I dive deeper into mental health, there is in the mental health world, there's the elements or the elements of therapy. I can't think of the word right now, but for Black Girls on the Go, we've identified the 12 wings of wellness, and we'll be using those tenets throughout Black Girls on the Go. And so I'll also be talking with some therapists about those dimensions, the 12 dimensions of, it's actually the 6 dimensions of wellness. We added 6 more because in order to heal a person, you have to look at the whole person. You can't just look at the mental health aspect, because more than likely, if you're struggling mentally, you're also going to need assistance in other areas of your life, whether it be finance, whether it's relationship being whether you're a parent, you have a spouse, just socially, or of course, whether it's health and fitness. So there are several different elements to it. So Black Girls on the Go has expanded. It's not just about travel. It's not just about you as a person. It's about you holistically, because we have to heal all around. It just can't be one thing. So I'll be talking to different professionals throughout those arenas. And for me, as an entrepreneur, it's like I'm an entrepreneur at heart. I've always been an entrepreneur. I've always had a business. And for me, financial stability comes from being an entrepreneur. So I'm going to support that. And on my podcast, I will have other women that are entrepreneurs come on and share their business and how they got started and what they're doing, and to encourage other people to be entrepreneurs, or other women.
Yeah, I think that is going to be so many amazing conversation. And as you were talking, it kind of comes back to, we were talking about the importance of community, and especially community for women. And as you were saying, having a space where people are sharing, and then you hear yourself in that story, or it's like the thing that unlocks something for you. I think that's why community can be so powerful. And you bringing that aspect into the podcast and putting that in a place where more people can listen and learn from others' experiences. I think that's a really important place and an important space to be creating.
Definitely is.
Well, this has been such a fun conversation. I'm sad that we had to wait so long, but I'm glad that the day is finally here, because it was so fun to get to talk to you. Before we go, Shay, I just want you to share how people can find you, but then also I have 7 rapid fire or rapid fire-ish questions to end our call.
Okay. You can find me on social media. I'm on Instagram as Black Girls on the Go, also on Facebook. And you can find me on the web at blackgirlsonthego.org, or the acronym BGOTG.org.
Great, thank you. So the first question is, what are you reading right now?
What am I reading right now? I ordered a book of affirmations, and I don't remember who the author is, but I'm reading a book of affirmations. So,
okay. If people that are interested in, do you have a favorite book you recommend to people to read?
my favorite book is Beauty for Ashes by Joyce Myers. It's very old. Actually, I don't even have it back here. But I read it probably in 1990, and it helped me to deal with the trauma I had with my mother. And it's the first time I read the quote, "Hurting people hurt people." That's the first time I heard that quote or read that quote in the book, and I still have it.
Thank you. What is always in your suitcase or backpack when you travel?
Definitely my iPad. Definitely my iPad.
That's a good answer. To sojourn is to travel somewhere as if you live there for a short while. Where is a place that you would still love to sojourn?
Santorini.
What do you eat that immediately connects you to a place that you've been?
Ugh. Shrimp, Santorini. I love their saganaki, whatever it is. I love it.
Who was a person that inspired or encouraged you to set out and explore the world?
Hmm. I don't know if it was one person, but probably just, the movies, just watching a movie and just seeing people in other places.
Mhm. If you could take an adventure with one person, fictional or real, alive or past, who would it be?
I'm gonna say it. I would take Jamie Foxx because he's fun. And hey, I'm just gonna say it. He's on my list. I
I
mean,
love
just for fun, just for fun.
Um, so Soul of Travel is about recognizing women in the industry. Who is one woman in the travel industry you admire and would love to recognize in this space?
Beth Santos. I want to meet her. Tell her, please do.
It's funny. I knew you were going to say her name before you said her name. So maybe there's already a whisper in the wind.
Did you know that?
Yeah. But thank you so much for this conversation, Shay. It was so fun. It's so worth the wait. And I hope people really learned a lot about how healing their travel can be and also how to get outside of the box in their business. So I think we covered those things well.
All right. Thank you.